Hey, Mark, that's a pretty good group for shooting with your eyes closed. Hey, Mark, remind me again why you did that drill and why you were sitting down.
Well, the reason I was sitting, we've got turkey season is coming up pretty soon, and I thought it'd be a good idea to get comfortable shooting from a sitting position because that's how I'll be hunting in my ground blind in a chair, and you don't want any surprises when it comes to crunch time. So that's the reason for that. Regarding the drill, it's one of my favorite drills to do. The experts say that we can only concentrate on one thing at a time with any kind of intensity. So by shooting with my eyes closed right before I'm ready to release, it allows me to not be distracted by the bullseye and focus on the release. Ultimately, I want that to become kind of on autopilot or assigning it to my subconscious so that I don't have to think about that. It's all about aiming. So one of my tendencies over the years has been to pull back during the release, which is a good thing, to be pulling back. However, I would consciously open my fingers, and what happens there is the string comes off track a little bit and you get a little bit of wobble in the string, and it's not in your best interest for perfect accuracy. So what I'm trying to do when I do that particular drill is to track the pattern of my release so that it's staying close to my face and surprising me as it goes off. So you might ask, how can it surprise you? So what you have to do is train your fingers not to consciously flick open. Imagine that I had a little dial on my hand and I could dial that into 43 pounds. And so as I reminded you in the last video, my fingers are extended with a slight hook at the end. And so I got 43 pounds dialed in, and I come back to anchor. I'm going to add no more, no less. 43 pounds, that's it. And then in such a way, I'm going to pull straight back in a fairly rapid movement so that the string explodes off the fingers so that all 43 pounds are released at the same time. You can't consciously do that. If you try to control it, there's a little bit of hang up and it just doesn't come off as smooth. And most of the experts will agree that's the way to do it. So if you or yourself, I've done it, where you're ready to shoot a target and your bow arm just kind of like flinches like that. And you'll get teased, oh, you shot that one twice, even though you only shot one arrow. What I believe that is we are anticipating muscle shock. And we are bracing. It's like a reflex bracing. And it's absolutely unnecessary. It'll rob you blind with your shot. I suffered from that. You might want to even consider it a form of target panic. I don't know. However, I found a way to fix that. And the other beauty of this drill by shooting with your eyes closed is you can prove to yourself, you can prove to this bow hand that wants to run the show that it doesn't need to brace anymore. So what I would do is I would go up to the target very, very close, 5, 6, 7 feet away, draw back, and aggressively explode back, more than necessary, with my eyes closed, and just convince the bow arm, look at that, nothing happened, it's not so bad. It's just gonna stay there, and it resolved that problem. So keep that in mind. It's a multi-purpose drill. So one thing I forgot to mention in the last video, and I'll warn you, it does not fit everybody's form. It's something I do, and some people like it, some people don't, just in case it fits your necessities. What I do is I do tuck my jaw against my shoulder. So when I raise up, my elbows come out, and I intensely tuck the chin in like so, and that's where it stays. I don't really jam it in there, it's just contact, and that's as far as I raise right there. And there's a reason for that. It gives me consistency with my head position, and it also is one less moving body part that I have to worry about. It has its assignment, and that's where it stays. Simple as that. So for those of you that don't wear glasses, this might really be interesting to you. You can use, and I do this, you can use your eyebrow, not so much the eyebrow, but the eyebrow bone, as a draw check. Now what is a draw check? A draw check is a way to set up your shot so that you will come to a stop. For me, it's 26 inches. For you, it could be 28, it could be 22, 23, whatever. But if I have a consistent head position and I draw my bow back and my string hits my eyebrow, it's 26 inches, give or take a quarter inch or so. So there's benefits to doing that, one of which, it was right before my eyes and I didn't even notice it. I was shooting one day with my buddy and shooting groups of 3, walk up, pull them, and he looked at his, he looked at mine. He says, Mark, all your fletching are in the same direction. The cock feather, they're all at 10 o'clock. He said, do that again. So I shot 3 more. I was shooting very well that way, by the way, that day. And so I was very consistent. So I did it again. All 3 cock feathers were in the same position on the clock. He couldn't do it. And he's more of a snap shooter, a little bit inconsistent with the draw length. So that particular type of thing could help you with long distance shots where you need a consistent amount of oomph for a trajectory so that you're not overpowering bow or underpowering the speed of the arrow so it's going to fly at the same trajectory path. So the next aspect of the eyebrow anchor draw check is the wall. Now, if you know anything about compound bows, if they're tuned up properly, they get to a spot and you just can't pull it any further. They call it the wall. And you're pulling against that wall, whether using your fingers or a mechanical release, and it just pops off of there in a beautiful way. Well, what's even cooler about using your eyebrow, if it's better than the wall of a compound, reason being, when you give that awesome explosive release, the bow hand doesn't feel the extra poundage because it's absorbed into the eyebrow bone. Whereas if it wasn't in contact, you could ultimately add a little bit extra and the bow arm would feel it. So it's just a win-win. If you can do it, you'll like it. So one other thing that you could use the eyebrow for would be a mental trigger. And what that is, some people need a trigger to tell their brain, let go. They're hovering on the target and they'll use a clicker, stuff like that. If you don't want to use a clicker, you could just use your eyebrow. Here it is. You've got your anchor, but you give it that little bit extra into the eyebrow and bam, let it go. So that's another little advantage to it. I can't tell you how many times I've been out shooting. It could be by myself, with my wife, with my buddies, and you either challenge yourself or someone challenges, okay, see who can hit that little spot. It might be an acorn you stick into a target or whatever the challenge is, and you'll notice it's like a ring of arrows around that spot, and then eventually maybe someone gets lucky and pinwheels it and hits that spot. So it's like there's a force field around it, preventing any arrows from getting in. They can get close but not in. And in order to hit that spot, you have to break the code of the force field. So I'm going to tell you what that code is right now, and it's so darn simple. It's right before our eyes. You have to focus with maximum intensity on that spot and allow your release to happen naturally, subconsciously. What happens, and this is so darn cool, here we are, you might have laser lock on that spot. You are so hungry for that spot. You draw back and you come into anchor and you are so on that spot, and you know it's there, man. And all of a sudden you say, all right, I got to get this string off my fingers in such a way that I don't goof this up because I know I'm dead on. What have you done? You have dismissed your primary vision, so you don't have to look anymore. We're thinking about this now. So what happens? Your eyes are not actually looking at the spot, they're looking in the area of the spot. And where do we hit? In the area of the spot. So only when you have that really strong hunger, desire to hit that spot and allow your release to happen naturally, only then are you going to consistently whack that little spot that you're looking at. Pretty cool, huh? So bear with me on this. I have 3 rather interesting stories of supporting that will support what I just taught you guys. My friend Ken, he was up at the archery range one day. He's a very good compound shooter, and he occasionally shoots his recurve. That particular day, he was shooting his recurve, and he was having a rough time. So he looked over me after shooting maybe 18, 24 arrows. He says, "Mark," he says, "can you watch me? I can't seem to get a tight group today, and tell me what the heck I'm doing wrong." So I watched him for a few shots, and in all honesty, I was quite impressed with his form, and I said to myself, boy, I wish I could follow through like that. He had it looked like an Olympic level shooter, just beautiful follow through. I says, "Kenny, I can't see nothing wrong. I'm perplexed at what you're doing wrong, but why don't you try, just as you're coming into anchor, focusing like you have a very expensive camera, and you want to focus that camera right on that white X in the bullseye, and make sure that is clear as a bell until the arrow actually hits it. Try that." He draws back, shoots, he pinwheeled it right in the middle. He looks over, he says, "Thanks, that wasn't so hard." Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. So another example, my wife and I, we were shooting one day into a big old blown out tough bag. In the middle, it had like a big crater in there, and there was a couple spots we had with a Sharpie marker to aim at. And I was progressively getting better and better at my accuracy as we continued to practice. My wife was having her average day, and she's sort of doing those circles around the spots, not really hitting really good bullseyes, but okay. So there was a piece of litter sitting there. It was a 16-ounce plastic green Mountain Dew bottle, and the cap was off it. And I said, I'm gonna make sure that I throw that out when they're done. So I put it over near where we were standing. I thought, I'm gonna jam that into that crater in the tough bag. I jammed that in there, and I said, "Sue, what would you give me if I put my arrow right down that bottleneck of that bottle?" She says, "I'll give you a 5-minute back rub later." I says, "Excellent." I really was hungry for that back rub and for the shot, and I missed by like this much. I was so bad. I said, "Can I have one more try?" She says, "Sure, go ahead." Bingo, right down the pike. So we were at about 25 yards. Now she's got this 30-pound longbow that she only draws 22 inches. She's like probably 23 pounds at her draw, and there's slow motion arrows going out of that bow, especially at that distance. She gets up there and she says, "Can I try?" I said, "Sure." And so she draws up, lets go of the arrow. While the arrow's in flight, she says, first she said, "That was a nice shot." While the arrow's in flight, she says, "But mine's better." Rams it right down the bottleneck and split my nock while we're at it. Now, she went from group like that to right down the pike. What was it? It was the concentration, the desire that she created to want that shot. One other thing, which is rather profound, I was shooting with I was doing 3 arrows at 20 yards with my eyes closed on a very large target, by the way. And then 3 arrows, eyes open, 3 arrows, eyes closed, 3 arrows, eyes open. And after doing 3 rounds of each, it was very apparent that I was shooting better with my eyes closed than with my eyes open. And I said, what the heck? I got target panic creeping in or something like that? I was rather perplexed. What in the world was going on? So I thought about it. Before I shot any more arrows, I did a little bit of a review of my mind of what was going on. So I thought, I need to concentrate on the spot. Let the release happen naturally. That's the whole reason for this. So after I started implementing that thought of letting the release happen more natural on autopilot, the groups tightened up, and it was a real eye-opener for me. So to wrap things up, I encourage you to practice your release and your follow through at close range with your eyes closed, and assign those tasks to your subconscious, and just enjoy your focus. Enjoy aiming. That's what it's all about. Good luck, guys.